Hello there. Today I will be ranking all of our players from who I think is most likely to win, to least likely, in a tier list. This will be based on how their game is looking going into next week, their potential long-term prospects, and how I think the edit is factoring into their chances to win or go far. This ranking is my own personal opinion, and will probably change massively from week to week, but these are my thoughts after episode 6. I also want to point out that tiers are not ordered in any particular way. Our merge boot this season was Lydia, who unexpectedly went home after a quickly shifting target. The hourglass twist was too strong again this season, which meant that Lydia was put in a tough spot going into tribal council. She was seemingly in a good position, but the paranoia caused by the hourglass caused her allies to turn on her, and the Taku alliance was too powerful for this vote. Overall, I liked Lydia's presence this season, so she will be missed. D tier this week is for players who I see have very little chance of winning, and will likely leave the very game soon. First in the D tier this week is Tori, who drops from the C tier from last week. Tori in recent weeks has been a mess in the game, as nothing is really going right for her. Tori made a fool of herself at the immunity challenge by getting upset at the hourglass twist, where she claimed to send Rocksroy to Exile Island, but nobody believed her. She was also shown to be trusted by basically nobody, causing her to be the target, and likely to go home if she didn't win immunity. Tori is in big trouble in coming tribals, so she needs to find allies quickly or somehow go on an immunity run, which I don't see being super likely. If Tori can slip by a couple votes however, I could see her going very deep into the game. Next in the D tier this week is Chanelle, who drops from the C tier from last week. Chanelle, similarly to Tori, is a player who has no trust with most of the tribe at this point. The former Vati tribe have thrown Chanelle completely under the bus to the other tribes, meaning that it will be very hard to find allies to move forward with. Chanelle was a big target this week, and was saved by the hourglass twist to remain in the game, which worries me for next week. However, Chanelle has shown some solid instincts in the game, so if she can use those instincts well, she could stay in the game for longer than one might think. C tier this week is for players who I either see little chance of winning the game, or could leave soon. First in the C tier this week is Marianne, who remains in the C tier from last week. Marianne is not in a great spot currently, as she had votes to go home this week, and her former Taku tribe has excluded her in their alliance making. This has put her in a bad spot on the tribe, and unfortunately for her she has a big target on her back because mostly everyone in the game knows that she has an idol. Marianne has shown decent game sense so far, so if she can use her idol as leverage to gain allies moving forward, she could find herself in a decent position, but it's going to be tough for Marianne. Next in the C tier is Rocksroy, who rises from the D tier from last week. This is the first time in many episodes that I have placed Rocksroy above the D tier, and things seem to be looking up for him. The hourglass move was a big game changer, and he seems to not have taken any fallout from it. He also seems to not be an immediate target for the next few votes, as he has people like Drea who are willing to ally with him. Rocksroy looks to be a part of the big alliance that has formed, so that should keep him safe for the coming votes, but I do worry about Rocksroy's ability to navigate through the game in the future. As Tori put it, Rocksroy is seemingly only interested in the survival aspects of the game, but we will see if he can grow into a great player or not. B tier this week is for players who I think have a good chance to win, but have some flaws in their game that are holding them back, or are just overall middling. First up in the B tier this week is Lindsay, who remains in the B tier from last week. Lindsay has been perennially B tier this whole season, and this episode once again reinforces that. Lindsay does not have a target on her back currently, and she is also a part of the large alliance that we saw form with members of all of the tribes, but she is not on top of the alliance, or a power player. We saw Lindsay fail to get Marianne out, instead other more powerful players decided the vote this week. Lindsay has the amulet advantage that she could potentially use, so I am interested to see if she can use it to gain power down the line, but time will tell for Lindsay as a whole. Next in the B tier this week is Romeo, who remains in the B tier from last week. Romeo's game took a relative hit this week, as his alliance with Draya seemed to not be as strong as I initially thought. Romeo was left out of the large alliance that formed, which puts him more on the outs of the merged tribe. However, Even though Romeo was left out of the alliance, he seemingly has solid connections in the tribe with power players like Hai, so he should be able to remain relatively safe in the short term. Time will tell whether Romeo will be able to grab power in the game. Next in the B tier this week is Hai, who falls from the A tier from last week. Despite falling this week, Hai is still in a solid spot on the merge tribe, as he has multiple connections he can work with in the game. However, the reason for his drop is primarily because Lydia ended up going home, which I think is catastrophic for Hai's game. Hai still does have an advantage, and does not seem to be a primary target, so we will see if he can bounce back in coming weeks, or losing his number one will result in his demise. A tier this week is for players who aren't looking like they will go home soon, and have solid chances to win the game. First in the A tier this week is Drea, who remains in the A tier from last week. Drea is in a great spot in the merge tribe so far, as she is in the alliance that formed, which should keep her from being a target for at least a few votes. She also has solid connections with many members of the merge tribe such as Mike, Hai, Lindsay, and Rocksroy. On top of this, Drea also had numerous advantage that she has used to gain leverage and also can use to keep herself safe down the line. One negative for Drea is that many people know about her numerous advantages, but if she can keep her threat level low, then I think she has a great chance to win the game. Next in the A tier this week is Jonathan, who rises from the B tier from last week. Jonathan was a player I was worried about coming into the merge, as he is a massive physical threat in the coming challenges, which could cause players to target him. However, we have seen that Jonathan has been able to make great connections in the merge tribe so far. He is a part of the large alliance that initially formed, with a particularly good connection with Mike, while also being protected well by his former Taku tribe members. The reason Jonathan isn't higher is because of his massive threat level, but if he can manage to stay in the game, he has a great chance to win overall. S tier this week is for players who are in great positions, aren't likely to leave anytime soon, and also have a great chance to win in my opinion. First in the S tier this week is Omar, who remains in the S tier from last week. Omar has really proven himself to be the owl he mentioned before this episode, as he has really come alive as a power player. He was shown to form alliances with the new players on the merge tribe, while also being included in alliances that formed. Omar was able to successfully save Jonathan from going home, which was great for Omar's game, as keeping a massive threat like Jonathan is great for a strategic player like Omar. Omar was able to successfully save all of his former Taku tribe members, which gives him more room to work with moving forward, and more potential allies in coming votes. If Omar keeps his threat level low, I think he has a great chance to win the game. Next in the S tier this week is Mike, who remains in the S tier from last week. Mike is in a great spot in the game at this point, as he is not the primary target of anyone it seems, while also having great connections across the tribe. Mike is included in the large alliance we saw form, but we also saw him form various other connections such as an alliance with Drea and Marianne, as they are the idol holders. He also was able to forge a bond with Jonathan, which should be a great shield moving forward, giving him more room to play the game before becoming a target. The one downside for Mike is that everyone knows about his idol, but if he can use it well, I think he has a great chance to win the game. There is my current tier list of who I think is most likely to win and make it far. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions, and I am unspoiled this season, and this is very subject to change. We will see if anyone else will be able to rise to the S tier, and I am interested to see how the rest of the season will shake out. Thanks for watching.